So if you can sit up nice and tall and just think about not only just the top of your head lifting up a little bit higher, but also think about the base of your neck. So you might even take one hand, and if it's okay, you can start to like fish around for that bone that almost like protrudes out a little bit further. And then notice how the back of your neck curves in. And then you find the ridge of your skull there. So I want you to trace back down to that bone that protrudes out a bit, your like the base of your cervical spine here. And once you become aware of that, think about an invisible string that is attached to that, drawing you up towards the ceiling. So thinking about that being where you lift from today, just to create a little bit more space in the torso. And then keep tracing your fingers like along the back of your neck, up your spine to the base of your skull here, to your occiput. And then keep your hand there, but just widen it out. So you're just creating almost like a pillow behind your skull. And once you have that, can you give just a little bit of a tug? And I say like tug, just like a gentle, gentle sort of lifting up there. And then almost let the weight of your head draw back into your hand. If that feels okay, you're not here long. You won't have to like hold your arm here forever for the whole class, but just start to think about or energetically start to feel what that length is like in your neck, maybe even in your upper back as a result. Take one more breath in if you can. Now, see if you can keep that same alignment, but then let your hand drop back down either to your lap or place your hands on your thighs. Keep that and maybe take a roll of the shoulders in all directions. Notice if you're holding tension there. And then if you'd like, you really want to move like the neck around, you can in all different directions. Maybe look right, left, drop one ear to one side and then the other. Maybe even drop your chin to your chest. Take little rolls if that feels good. I could do this for like 5 hours. So I often start there. And then once you just create a little bit more space in the neck, maybe in the shoulders and the upper back, revisit that sense of lifting up with the skull. And let the eyes close if they're not already there and settle in for just a few more moments here. You might even start to just observe your breath, tracing the inhale as well as the exhale. Noticing the rise and fall. And once you complete your next exhale here, see if you could stay empty of breath for just a moment. And then your next inhale, breathe in for the count of 3, 2, 1, slight pause, and then breathe out. 3, 2, 1. 2 more like that. Breathe in for the count of 3, 2, 1. Pause. And then just as slow, maybe even slower exhale. 3, 2, 1. Last one. Breathe in. for the count of 3, 2, 1. Maybe this time open your mouth, slowly exhale. 2, 1, and then just take a big breath in, nice and normal but full. And then again, open your mouth. Maybe let a sigh out. Ah, it would feel nice. And then you can blink the eyes open. Take any movements that you need, but we'll meet in tabletop pose. So hands and knees. Letting your knees stack underneath your hip points and letting your hands come just a little bit wider than your shoulders. So we have this nice firm base here. And then start by tucking your toes under here. And if you tuck your toes under, maybe you start to like spread your toes apart a little bit more and then rock your heels side to side. So to the right, to the left, nice and slow. So no rush. And maybe you just start to notice a little bit more sensation in the top of the feet, maybe in the calves, the back of the ankles, the Achilles, right? And then you just start to create a little bit more space there. And then when you're ready, untuck your toes. Point your toes straight back behind you and press down with the tops of the feet. And let that be active here. So as you really press down through the feet, you might notice that the muscles of your belly turn on a little bit more. Take one more full breath in and out. And then just for a moment, release that a bit more and then walk your hands up your thighs here just to give your ankle, or not your ankles, your wrists. See, that will be my interesting reintroduction into teaching is like, can we name all the parts of the body the correct words? Start to make fists with your hands if you can, and start to just take little circles with the wrists in all directions. And then reach your hands up overhead and give a little bit of a stretch through the fingertips. And then maybe even imagine you're like climbing a rope here. So it's like you reach with one side a little bit longer and then the other side. And then you can do that a few more times just to create a little bit more length in each side of the torso. And take one more breath in, look up towards your fingertips. And then bring your hands back down to the ground. We're coming back to that active tabletop pose. But this time, you might even consider sending your right leg behind you. And you might even let it float. Or if you'd like more stability, you can tuck your right toes onto the ground. We're going to all meet there eventually. Just take one more big breath in wherever you are. And then we all meet, right toes tucked onto the ground. Press back through your right heel, get that stretch in the calf. That might feel much needed. And then again, as you keep the right toes tucked and the right heel pressing back, maybe like you were like windshield wipers, right? You can like send your right heel to the right and then to the left, to the right and to the left. And then you might even add into that a little bit more of a pushing back with the heel. So it's like your heel then starts to maybe trace like a circle, right? Thinking of a clock, right? Coming back up and forward to like 12 o'clock and then pressing over to the right towards 3, then down towards 6, over to 9, and then back up. So you're just making this like circle forward and back. You can even think of, if it's easier, your navel almost tracing that circle as well. So you're kind of like all moving in that direction. And then you might switch counterclockwise. Take about 3 to 4 rounds. And come back to neutral. Return that right knee to meet the left. Now, You can start to drop your belly down, lift your tailbone, and lift your chin a bit. Maybe look forward, finding cow pose, feeling that stretch across the front. And then as you exhale, press into your hands, round your upper back, and drop your head, finding cat pose. Do that one more time, but with your breath. Let it be intentional. Slow inhale to find cow. Slow exhale to find cat. Coming back to neutral. And then you'll walk your hands again up your thighs. Just come up onto your knees. Reach your arms up and overhead. Now, this time you'll take your right hand and you'll grab your left wrist. I want you to think about lifting up first, then tipping over to the right. Create a little bit more length in the left side. If you need to bend the left elbow, you can still find that length along the side here. And then you'll come back to center, reach both hands up and just switch. Left hand comes to your right wrist, reach up first, and then tip over to the left. Come up to center. And you can even take your arms out like goalposts here. Bend at the elbows. Take one more breath in just to feel the elbows draw back just slightly so you can lift the chest, feel it expand here. And then bring your hands back down to the ground. Nice and easy tabletop pose. Send your left leg behind you. So we switch sides. Your choice if you want it to float for just a little bit more work in the belly, or if you want it to be down towards the ground already, tucking your toes, that's cool. We'll all meet there. Take one more big breath in. And then that left foot comes back down to the ground. If it's lifted, press back through the left heel. And then like start with the windshield wiper. So left heel goes to the left, to the right, left, right. Do that a few more times. And then think about shifting your weight further back towards like your heel draws back down towards, think 6 o'clock. And then in and up. And you can start clockwise or counterclockwise. Just take note of what direction you're moving in. And then maybe your whole body kind of like moves in this circular way. And then you'll switch directions. Press back through the heel. And then your left knee comes to meet the right. And if you need to, you can come up to fists here. So if that's a lot of flexion in the wrists, like a lot of, it creates a little more tension there, you can come onto fists. That's always an option. And then we'll take one round of cat-cow. So drop the belly, lift the chest on an inhale. And then exhale, press down into your hands. Drop your head. Think chin in towards your chest and upper back round. And then you'll come back to neutral. Walk your hands up your thighs again. Bring your hands to your hips this time and step your right foot forward. So it doesn't have to be a super deep lunge. Definitely not what we're going for. Think like 2 90-degree angles. So we can just start to bring your right hand or keep it on your right hip. Reach your left hand up towards the sky. And if it feels okay, you can lean over to the right. So this just deepens that sort of stretch along the left side, the outer left hip a bit more. You're not here too long. If you feel wobbly, press down through your front foot. It helps to balance a little more. And then you'll come back up and you'll bring your hands to your hips for a moment. Your back toes, this might be a little tricky, but we'll come into it. Your left toes will turn over towards the right side of your mat, right? So you're just gonna like turn them in, and then you can wiggle walk that right foot. So the heel is pretty much in line with that left knee, and arms can come out like a T. So you're in a modified warrior two. We're going to do just a little bit of movement here. So on the inhale, you'll reach your right hand up to the sky and drop your left hand down. We'll call this like almost like a reverse warrior here. And then as you exhale, come to your modified side angle. So your right forearm will come to your right thigh. And then your left arm can either reach up towards the sky, you can bend the elbow, or you can reach your left fingertips forward overhead. And so another way to get just a little bit longer on that left side, right? But you have the support of your forearm, of your thigh right there to kind of like lean into that lateral stretch. Take one more breath in, reach through your fingertips, and then come back to that warrior two sort of stance, but on your knee, of course. And then you'll face the front. So both knees will come back. Reach both arms up overhead, and this time hook your thumbs overhead and create almost like the letter O around your skull here. Your elbows will bend wide. Nice little tug of the thumbs. And then it's not about how far you can go back, but think about not only the back of your neck and your skull lifting up, but think about your sternum rising or lifting up higher here. One more big breath in. So nice. And then you'll come back, hands onto your hips. This time, left foot comes forward. And your left hand stays on your hip. Your right arm will reach up. And then if you want, you can stay here reaching up, or you just start to tip over to the left. And of course, it doesn't have to be your deepest side stretch you've ever taken. No, you have like one more opportunity to create a little more length on that side. Go one more breath in. And then you'll come back up, hands to your hips, just for balance. And now it's your right toes, they'll go over to the left here. You're just like almost on that like 90-degree angle. I suppose 45, whichever way you look at it, 90. And then you'll send that over. Make sure your heel's in line with your knee, your left heel in line with your right knee. Arms come out to the side. So you're facing the long edge of your mat here. And you'll reverse. You'll tip that right hand down, reach through your left fingertips just to find more length. And then it's your forearm to your thigh, right arm overhead. And you can either reach straight up, bend the elbow, of course, if that feels good for the neck, or reach the right fingertips forward. Lots of options. See if you can return to your breath. We're just here for 3. And a little bit more length too. Last one. And you'll slowly come back up, long arms for a moment. And then it's hands and knees, tabletop pose. One round of cat-cow here, just to rinse that out. Breathe in to drop the belly, lift the chest. Breathe out to round the spine and dropping the head. And then you'll come back to neutral and then slowly return to a seat. So you'll just bring your legs out in front of you and give them a little bit of a shake. That's a lot of work on the knees. And then take roll of the ankles, both directions if you can, all different ways. And as you start to, you might even take your feet a little bit wider. So they don't have to be like train tracks here. They can be wider. Your feet can be wider than your hips. I actually like to take that stance because then it allows more space for your pelvis to move. And once you're there, take Dandasana or staff pose. So you can take your hands down either to blocks on either side of you, like so, or to the ground. And as you press down with your hands, think about that same sort of lift that we felt earlier when we were in a like cross-legged seat. And think about the top of your head lifting up, the base of your skull, the back of your neck, getting a little bit longer, lifting. Take one more breath in and a breath out. So nice. Now see if you can keep that and then bring the soles of your feet together. So your knees can go out wide and it's not about how close your feet can come to your pelvis, right to your seat. I actually like to create like a diamond like shape here. And then take your hands to your shins. Again, think about lifting up with the top of your head, finding that length first. And then you can choose to stay here. This might feel really, really nice. See if you can soften the shoulders if you stay there. If you'd like to tip your pelvis forward and then just walk your hands a little bit further forward, maybe grab onto your feet, maybe your ankles, maybe you stay on your shins. There's no like particular goal here, right? It's just the idea that you're creating a little bit more space in the hips, so maybe a little sensation of a stretch. And then think about your sternum. If you're tipping forward, leaning or leading forward, right? Your sternum draws forward beyond your toes. Take one more breath in right here to find that length. Stay here, or if you'd like to round, think like cat pose. See if you can round in. That might feel really nice for the low back, maybe even the upper back. And then soften your jaw. Notice if you're clenching. Take a full breath in and a breath out. And then you'll come back up to a seat. And for a moment, we're just find a cross-legged seat, but you don't have to sit up on a block this time. We're not here too long. I just want you to take your hands and wrap them around the sides of your torso here. So you can, with that length, maybe sit up a little bit taller. And then you start to notice how, as you inhale, not only does your belly expand and your chest expand, right? But you can think about the breath expanding out and up, but also out to the sides, right? So you're filling up this container as you breathe in, fill that up with breath, and then breathe out. Notice how it slightly contracts and empties, right? Take 3 rounds just noticing that expansion, whether it's you notice it just slightly or it's like you notice it right away, like you can take a bigger breath, you've got more space here. Just notice how, as we start to create a little more space in the body and we become aware of where we take our breath, sometimes our breath almost gets stuck like in our chest and we're like raising our shoulders and we're stuck here. I find that like when we start to create a little bit more space, at least myself personally, then I can start to fill that space or become more aware of that space as I inhale and exhale. So maybe I take a bigger breath in. And then more importantly, even a longer, slow breath out. to empty. So just a little bit of awareness, maybe a little bit more than before. And bring your hands to your knees, sit up tall again. Take one more inhale. And then if you want, you can open your mouth, let out that sigh. Make sure you have enough space behind you. And before you head onto your back, make sure you have a block handy. And you'll slowly make your way onto your back here. And then again, you might take a few rolls of the ankles. Feels really nice. Point to flex the feet in all directions. And then bend your knees, plant your feet about hips width distance apart to start. And then heel toe your feet a little bit wider, just a little bit wider. And then find internal rotation of your thighs by just knocking your knees together. That sometimes can feel really nice on the low back. You might notice how it lengthens that space a little more. And then keep the feet wide, separate the knees again, but keep the feet where they are, right? So it's like you're setting up for bridge, but your feet are wide. But then I want you to take your arms either out like a T, or you can bend them at the elbows like goalposts. And then as you keep the feet wide, the knees separated, see if you can knock both knees, bend them over to the right. And just rock them over. And then because of this, you might feel this stretch in the left quad muscles a little bit more, maybe in the front of the left hip. And then you'll come back to center. Still like an easy twist here, of course. So drop both knees over to the left. Thinking about that right knee, the weight of that right knee becoming a little bit heavier towards the ground. And come back to center. Now you have the option to wiggle walk your feet back in line with your hips. And I'll give the option to lift up and find a bridge if you want, just like a gentle back bend. You can take a block under your sacrum if that's too much. You can also use a pillow just to elevate your hips a little bit more. Neither one is better or worse than the other option. You might even just stay on the ground if you feel like your pelvis being on the ground is what your body's craving. You just want like a sense of grounding there. You just need the space to just like lay, be. Wherever you are, maybe bring your hands onto the sides of your torso again, or maybe like where your ribs, right, as your ribs are there, so you can feel just a little bit of movement, or maybe onto your belly, wherever feels comfortable for you. If you would rather your arms done along your sides, that's fine too. And you can just listen to the sound of your breath or become aware of its movement in the body, maybe even close the eyes. See if you can return to that tracing of the slow inhale in and out. The expansion and the emptying. And a few more rounds of breath right there. Giving yourself permission to just land wherever you are and know that focusing on your breath is enough. Like it's enough work, it's productive, it's intentional. May even bring a soothing quality into your day. If it feels good to keep your hips elevated, you can keep them there. If not, you can remove that pillow or that block. Let your pelvis return to the ground. And you may take any other movements that you are craving here, whether it's another sort of stretch in the hips. You can find a figure four, crossing right ankle below left knee, like a modified pigeon pose here. Maybe you let the sole of that foot drop over to the left. One final twist. And come back and switch sides. Or if you want stillness, you can keep the knees bent, or you can take the legs long. If you're finding that twist on the other side, you can take it. And you'll come back to center. Take your legs long here, your arms up overhead. Maybe a long body stretch here. One more time to point, flex the toes, the ankles, the feet. Move them all around, maybe even the wrists in both directions. And if you'd like, coming into just this sense of relaxation here, arms down along your sides, maybe palms slip up or hands come to some part of your body here for grounding. And then once you have arrived here, maybe even just consider picking up your head like just a half an inch off the ground. And then find that length in the back of your neck. And then set the weight of your skull back down. Maybe you create more space in the neck by inching your fingertips towards your feet a little more, letting the shoulders kind of follow suit. Take a big breath in, fill all the way up. And then maybe even let the lips part. Slow exhale out. And as you do that, see if you can soften the muscles around the face and the jaw, the sides of the neck. Shoulders, the shoulder blades as well. Even the muscles around your pelvis here, like your hips, your glutes. Maybe as a result, your legs soften, become a little bit heavier here. The weight of your heels allows the softening of your toes. You let every muscle relax and find a bit of ease, if even just for a few moments. Every exhale that you take as you rest here allows the muscles that are still holding on to tension and allows them to soften. Find a bit of ease. And permission to relax. Again, take a big breath in. Maybe open the mouth, slow, emptying out. Breath in and out. And start with your ankle, maybe your toes. Move your feet around intentionally in all different directions. And then with the wrists, fingers, and then even a rock of the head side to side. And start by bending your knees here. Plant your feet nice and firmly. If you want one last time to take the feet a little wider and the knees together. You might even bring your hands right by your upper thighs here, by your hip creases. And let's create traction here. Like press with your like thumbs, press with the heel of your hand, your palms. Press that space away from you. You can just create a little bit more space, maybe in the sacrum, maybe in the sides of the hips and the torso. You can release that. You can gently let both knees fall to one side, and you can press yourself up to just come to a seat, returning where you began. Sitting up nice and tall, thinking about that lift of the skull, that length in the neck. Ease across the shoulders as they fall down away from your ears. And take one more final breath in. Long exhale out. And thank you so much for moving, for breathing with me today, being patient as I integrate back into teaching and remembering rights, lefts, all the body parts. And it's like riding a bike, right?